Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, this is Hank here.
Hi, Hank. Thanks for being here. I'm
No
gonna
problem. I
record.
just
I'm gonna
wanted to-
record this meeting. You know.
Okay, cool.
Hello?
Hello. Hi, Wills.
Hello?
Hello.
I'm looking at Barbara, but can you see me, Barb?
No, I can't. I can just hear you.
Yeah, it's not, I don't know.
Well, that's fine. I mean,
Yep, no, you don't need to see my face. I don't know.
all
This
right.
happens.
I'm gonna
Go
mute you just until we need to bring you on. Okay, Willis.
Okay,
Thanks.
Can't we do that in the regular meetings for Will?
Yeah.
Just push a mute button whenever we want.
How you doing, John?
Good. How are you, Barb?
Good.
Beautiful
Wait.
day today.
Waiting for Dick to come on. There he is. Yes, it is a beautiful day. All right.
Sleep.
Hello, Mr. Bennett. Oh, the other Bennett. Sorry, Kevin.
A brother from a different mother.
Yeah. Dick, you are still muted.
uh-oh.
There you go.
What do you got? What do you got?
Here we are.
You're on, sir.
Okay. So should we have a selectmen's meeting?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, I'd like to bring the meeting to order. It's the March 9th, 2021 selectmen's meeting. And the first thing on the agenda would be to, well, we could have approve the minutes of our last meeting.
I would like to apologize, first of all, for not recording the last meeting. I had turned the recording off because I had logged in early, forgot to turn it back on. So that's an apology I owe everyone. Secondly, during the meeting minutes, I worked with Will Reisig on them, and we'd like to make sure that it's changed from argued to discussed from the discussion on Iron Mountain Road, because it is a discussion, not an argument from the interested parties. So I do want to make that change in the minutes.
All right, I saw that. I agree. They weren't really argumentative. They were discussing it and they have their feelings and that's fine.
Right.
So I think we should approve that change or addition to the minutes.
Thank you.
Is John with us today?
I am, and I will second that with that correction.
All right. Barbara, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
John, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Bennett, yes. Then the minutes stand as corrected.
And thank you, Susan Mason and Dave Mason and Jen Mello for that. I appreciate it.
Okay, so now we move along to our discussion period. Emergency management will not be available until 4, so I'm going to move that down the agenda. And we'll start with the upcoming discussion of the upcoming elections.
This could be an argument. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Don't be argumentative. So as I understand it, it's the selectmen that will actually, run the venue or the election, but we certainly should have input from Willis and Karen as to, how it will take place, because they are intricately involved in all of that. So I don't know, I see Jerry. Hi,
Yeah,
Jerry.
Willis is on as well, and I believe I saw Karen. Karen, are you on? She may not be. Willis is on though.
All right,
I'm
I'd
on.
like to recognize Willis and hear what he would say about how we would run the election.
Okay, well, just a clarification, not trying to be wise, but you don't run the elections. The selectmen are responsible for deciding the location, time, and the date, and the budgeting of the warrants. And by statute, by constitution, and the oath, you shall participate in all elections and all parts, counting ballots, blah, blah, blah. But the actual election, the moderator is the chief election officer, and the moderator runs the election, which is part of town meeting. We, as you remember back quite a few years ago, we voted at a town meeting to have a bifurcated meeting where we had to hold the election on the day based on the form of government by the state statute, which was the second Tuesday of March, and the deliberative portion or the business portion of town meeting would be held at a date and time and place as described by the selectmen. And that's kind of how we've been doing it. Not trying to be wise, but there is a clear distinction there. Your responsibility, basically simple, is, okay, where are we having an election? Where are we having a business meeting? And because of the Emergency Powers Act, the governor has allowed you to do it as we discussed, or I can do it under a different statute, and we've done that. Everybody agreed to go to May. And with that, I'll just add that 20 minutes ago, I read emails that have been coming in, and there's about 20 towns in the state already logging in, moderators and clerks, about the extremely low turnout for a town election today. That ones that have their election going on today. So it's, for a normal town election, they're way off in numbers. Hope that clarifies where we're headed, but.
Well, I apologize for.
No, it's okay. I just
using the
want
wrong word as far as running, because I did not believe that the selectmen ran the election, but.
No, I will.
As far as
Dick,
deciding
I will-
where it would
I-
be.
Wasn't trying to chastise, just trying to, but for other people's benefit that are on that may not know, I wanted to
Yep.
clarify it, that's all.
Okay, but let's get to where we're going to have this election.
Well, for my 2 cents, when we talked back and we all agreed on, postponing to May, one of the things that was discussed that we really didn't know where this whole COVID thing was going to be in May. And that was going to somewhat govern. We talked about, wouldn't it be nice to have an outside, maybe business meeting with a tent or whatever we needed, if it so warranted. We said maybe by then we can stay right at the Whitney Center. We really didn't know. At that point in time, there were other towns talking about drive-through elections, and I don't know. I've just recently gathered the conversations that you people have talked about, maybe a drive-through meeting or a meeting at the town office. And I don't know whether you had a chance to read my email. I don't agree with either one at that location. I just don't think we could, with the facilities, the location, the driving, parking, moving people along, weather considerations, that we could efficiently have that at the town office. That's where I'm at anyway.
I'm worried about the weather situation because The logistics of the town office for a vote, I think would be difficult. It's not, doesn't lend itself. We'd have to have people outside all day.
Oh, yeah.
Don't see how we go. If we're gonna have it inside, we may as well have it at the Whitney. Because if you're gonna have people go through the town office for voting, I think the Whitney venue is much, much more appropriate. So I don't know that we could comfortably set up an outdoor vote with, or drive-through voting without asking a lot of people to be outside all day in weather that we cannot predict.
Well, I agree. And to go along with that, if you looked at the requirements on the voting side, now granted, we don't have to, it's not state and federal, so we have a little flexibility, but just posting instructions to voters in 3 different places that are conspicuous, things like that, and having supervisors, if you did it, you got to have different areas, which are virtually impossible inside the office. And whatever you do in one tent outside, you got to do in pretty much 3 others. I agree with you, Dick, 100%.
Okay, Jerry, what do you think? You've been through a number of elections here, and I'd be happy to hear from you.
Which Jerry are you talking about?
Oh, that's right. Jerry, we'll start with Jerry 3.
You're muted, Jerry. Jerry, you're muted.
Barbara, you unmuted me. I think you might.
I did both of you just to go there. Okay, there you go.
Have you got me now? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that the complications of drive-through are too much to do. I think we ran the election safely for the general in Whitney, and I don't have a problem with duplicating that setup and that program. I don't think we'd have as many people as we did for the general, but even if we did, we ran that okay. If you're going to have the ballot section on the date in March that you normally do, I would vote for the Whitney Center.
All righty. How about Jerry 4? You're going to have to run a school board meeting or an election, I believe. So what do you think?
Well, our ballot section, we do along with yours. So we're pretty much what you guys decide to do for that. We are, we go along with, because that's the easiest thing to do logistically. So we don't have 2 days where we're doing ballot votes. But I agree with Bill and with my dad that I don't see how doing a drive-through vote's going to work very well for the ballot portion. We already held our annual district school meeting in the Whitney Center, and of course we have a far lower turnout for that than you do for the town. So what you guys decide to do for that, I don't know. That's a difficult portion, but I think the voting portion, I think you guys had it figured out pretty well for the state and federal voting. I don't see why it wouldn't work pretty well for the town ballot as well.
All right. Is Karen available?
She's,
Karen, are you on? I don't see her on the call at all.
she was
somebody-
going to be. I talked to her a few
Yeah, I know.
minutes ago.
There's one person named Clerk on here that is not muted, but I'm not hearing anything. And I don't see her phone number on here at all.
No. Well, I think my opinion would be to have it at the Whitney. I think that's the best place for us to set up. I think we can be safe there. I think we can accommodate people comfortably. And certainly the traffic and parking and all that is available there. So that would be my inclination at this time. I believe that we can post a notice that we've changed the venue back to the Whitney. I don't think that will offend anybody. I mean, we talked about trying to do it outside or drive by when we didn't know about, where we were going to be at with the COVID. But I think now, not that we're done with the virus, but I think we can run the election pretty well. There I go, running the election again. Sorry. I think we can choose a venue for the election that would be appropriate
Dick,
to accommodate.
Karen just hopped on the meeting as well. Karen, we're in the middle of talking about the logistics of the election voting day
Yeah,
for
I
the
was,
town.
I was listening. I was actually clerk. My computer at the office does not apparently have audio or something.
Oh,
I was listening to you. I was responding, but you didn't hear me.
so did you have any thoughts on the logistics of the election portion or, the voting portion of the meeting?
I think we were successful running 2 good elections back in the spring without any issues. Looking at the possibility of even doing a drive-through of any type, the space that we would need and resetting up everything outside, tables, chairs, it would be an extensive amount of work to basically recreate it. And then we have to put a lot of thought to how to make it work legally to accommodate the Secretary of State or Attorney General's office.
Well, John Allen, what do you think?
Well, I was just going to put a 2 cents here. I know with the number of people that are getting the vaccinations, and they recently, loosened the restrictions on face masks with grandparents and all that stuff I saw in the news yesterday. I'm sure by May, we'll probably be in a lot better shape in terms of who has been vaccinated as well. So that's another thing to consider. So obviously, it makes a little more sense to do it indoors. I think we did it well there, and I think it won't be much of an issue.
And Barbara?
Yep, I'm on the same page. And the other portion that we have to consider is the vote counting. So even if we try to do some kind of drive-through, we still have to gather to count. And the way we had it set up in Whitney worked very well as well for that portion. So.
Okay, well, I think that we should go ahead and put out a notice that our election will be staged at the Whitney Center. And from what I've read from the Municipal Association, I have the RSAs that allow us to do that. I don't think we're infringing on anybody's ability to vote by changing it back to the Whitney. So I think we'll go ahead and do that.
Willis would like to comment.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dick. The only thing before you put it out, maybe we still have to, it's only 4 days before we go to the actual deliberative portion. And there again, if we need to do something other than what we've done since we had the Whitney Center, that's also going to take some thought and some time, and weather conditions, daylight, I just didn't want us to lose track of that. And it might be beneficial to have that conversation just quickly, so that if you put a notice out and you're going to have to post, because the warrant is in the town reports being printed, correct?
Yes.
So yeah, there is a procedure, but we would probably want to try to take advantage of that, at least try to anyway. I don't know what anybody's thoughts is there, but that's Saturday. So it's 4 days away from the vote. Is there Any comment, thoughts, or what your thoughts there are, or have you guys discussed that one at all?
No, I haven't thought about that one. I don't know where we will stumble. Going from, what, Tuesday to Saturday
Mhm.
with
Uh,
the,
What's the concern?
The concern is we can do, this is great that we're all getting, everybody I think is agreed on board or so far comments about election, staying at the Whitney Center pretty much under the format that
Right,
Jerry and Karen originally set up for the primary and modified it a little bit in November. That would be great. But you also need to make a decision. The selectmen have, you have to decide where and on the deliberative portion. Town
Mhm.
meeting opens on Tuesday morning when the polls open.
right.
It adjourns and it continues to the business portion, and that's been decided. We do it on Saturday, the 15th.
Mhm.
I just, again, are we going to be able to accommodate everyone safely in the Whitney Center and do business as usual? Or I just thought we ought to take a minute and talk about that while everybody's here. Because that's going to take some setup and some really thought too, if we have to move it outside, for example.
Mhm.
right, well, I guess I was still thinking we could have the deliberative session outside, even if we had to rent a tent.
Yeah.
To accommodate people and spread them out, but at least we'd be in fresh air and, I believe that's a safer situation. So I would still head for that.
Okay, that's great. I just, wanted it to still be fresh because we still need to
No,
think about.
it's still part of the discussion,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, yep, no, that's good. I was just thinking that when you're gonna post, you're gonna post a change. It might be a good opportunity to say, and we will be, and further information to follow or something to that effect. When you put this out, that it's going to go to the Whitney Center, that the town meeting will be forthcoming on plans and location and.
Yep.
A quick
Well, yeah,
question.
as we get closer, I think we'll decide.
Yeah.
See if we can have it, a wonderful May day and
Mhm.
sunshine and blue skies, or if we're gonna have to plan for inclement weather.
Karen, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm sure we all have, we've gone to weddings where it's rained out, we've been under a tent. So I don't think the weather is too bad of an issue. What you do want to be considerate is most of the schools in the valley have had to rent tents. I think we need to contact a tent company to find out if there might even be a tent available.
Good
And if
thought.
we talk now, you might have that opportunity. If we wait, we may not get one.
Good thought.
Yes, I'll write that down.
Yes.
Dick, before I forget, Julie reminded me that we need to make a motion for the change of place for the election
Yes.
portion.
A
Um,
quick comment, or something to think about maybe is, do we have some people in town that already have an existing tent that we could borrow, maybe like Whitney Center, or I mean not Whitney Center, but Wentworth or Chris's Farm Inn. Somebody might have one already up and usable if we could borrow it that day.
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts on my end too, to call. Maybe Gibson Center, I know. Jerry Doherty, the fourth, would like to speak as well.
The school has a tent,
Oh, solved.
and I don't know, we're planning to set it up in the backfield behind the Whitney Center
Mhm.
by May 15th or not. It really depends on what the weather does in March and April, where the ground's going to be dry enough. But just as a thought, you're changing the election to the Whitney Center. You had town meeting in the Whitney Center last year. If the Whitney Center is available for town meeting and it doesn't work because you have too many people and there's a tent already set up in the field out back, that might be an option for you guys. And the other thing is too, is that, we could, if there's no tent available that you guys can get, our tent's available, we can make it available for you. That might be kind of a pain for us, but if it's what works, we can get it set up by the town office for you guys too. I'm sure it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get one up and down, and Kevin's going to be available, I'm sure, to approve, or Jay would be able to approve it for the town pretty quickly if we needed to. So we can figure that stuff out. We've got one.
Hey, Barbara, I got a comment.
Go ahead.
Who's that?
Yeah, Jay here. That's actually a great idea from Jerry if you have to do a tent. Putting a big tent at the selectman's office is going to be a tough one because you got to be a certain distance away from the overhead power lines. You got to be a certain distance away from each building and a large distance away from each propane tank. So depending on where you put a tent at the selectman's office and the size of it, it might be a hard squeeze to make it legal.
There is no power lines at the back of the building at least, but you're right, the propane tanks are by the library.
So I don't think it's gonna, and you gotta be certain distance away from the tree line too. So it depending on the size of the tent, it could be a hard squeeze. So behind the school might be the better, if we do have to go to a tent, that might be a better choice.
We could also use some of the chairs from the Whitney Center that are in there, I think, too.
Yeah.
We'd also have to make sure we clean them before they go back in.
Well, we should have chairs available. Not everybody's going to bring a lawn chair
Right.
if we have it outside, so we have to have some chairs available. So I think that's appropriate.
I would voice that we set up, we use, if we're allowed to use those chairs, whether we're outside in the tent or whatever, but again, just to make sure we're covering all the bases, we could set those chairs up and still have, a 6 foot spacing as much as possible to try to ease. There may still be people at that point that would be uncomfortable, and we do not want to discourage anyone from attending their business meeting.
Right. Well, if we have it outside, we have to also consider some source of electricity. I think we would have to have an amplified speaking system. So that would also work out either out of the pavilion or out of the Whitney. I certainly have enough extension cords to get us anywhere or run a coil of wire. Anyway, I think maybe then that head for the Whitney Center. We'll try to do everything there. And be prepared for whatever eventuality, rain, shine, blue skies. But I think that should be in our notice that we are trying to set everything up at the Whitney.
How big is the tent that the school has? And how big a tent would we need, I guess?
I think Jay might know the size of the tent.
I don't have to, I'd have to go upstairs and dig through the file. The COVID rules will outweigh my rules. So by the time you keep people separated, you'd need a way bigger tent than my occupant load would account for. I know that's not a great answer yet, but I thought the school tent was fairly small, Jerry.
Yeah, it's not a huge tent, but I mean, it's,
I mean, I think if you're gonna put 50, 75 people in a tent spaced apart 6 feet, that's going to be a huge tent
Right.
without, you know, I mean, you could put a lot of people in a tent, a lot, without sides on it. But they're pretty tight to each. So, and if I remember right, the school one that I inspected is fairly small. It's not a huge tent. So I don't know if it would necessarily be big enough. We'd have to look. We got time. We can look into that.
Can it be used as an overflow tent?
Yep.
Is that possible, or do they have to be directly in the meeting by rule or law, RSA?
No. There, depending on, there are ways you can do that, John. It would be, you have to, again, sound abilities and communicating. If a written ballot, so to speak, those kind of things, you could have an accessory room or rooms. That, again, as Jay said, the COVID, all the responsibilities that it spells out allow, you know, you have, even in voting, if the mask situation was still going, people don't want to wear masks, there's a lot of things that allow you to do that. It just, again, we'd have to investigate and where and how. But if we wanted to do an accessory tent, use the Whitney Center as your primary area and shut that the small parking, you know, as you face the Whitney Center to the left, you could put an accessory tent up there that gives you in and out access, 2 ways into the building, you know, from the side doors or around to the front. That's something we could do. Absolutely.
Well, I know
Give me an-
Conway is having a remote for people that choose not to use a mask. They go to the gym, but the sound system, they're listening to the meeting and they can be called on to speak, I believe. So
Yep.
I guess it is possible.
So Jay here again. I got the school's permit in front of me. It's 20 by 40 tent, regular fire code for place of assemblies, 52 occupants. So probably with COVID rules, I mean, what could you put in there? 30?
I don't have an answer for that one.
But hold on a minute, that's tables and chairs. So I'd have to redo the formula to see how many auditorium style seating would be, but basically it's 20 by 40. So
that's 800 square feet.
Right. So, Jay, I used to, again, it's a long time ago, but 7.5 square feet? I mean, 15 square feet was one, but under
Table.
that condition, was it 7.5 feet per person in a general rule of thumb?
Yeah, it's 15. Yeah,
15 on normal.
occupant tables and chairs.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but no, it's tables and chairs, Kevin.
Right, but you also, again, you got 800 square feet.
Style. Yeah, so I'm guessing with COVID rules, you might be able to do 30 or 35 or so. I'm just wild guess with that size tent.
Well, if everyone remembers last year's town meeting, I mean, COVID was right on the cusp of going crazy, but there was some discussion. I know I had thoughts, and I talked to the Secretary of State's office and the AG's office about, there was some thoughts about postponing, but we held it, which we're glad we did, because we'd still be waiting, I think. But we did a pretty good job with setting the chairs up in a total different arrangement. Jerry the third, you remember that we had kind of the arc, we split chairs up. People were 2 people, if they so elected, they could sit with one another, but we tried to have spacing, and I know our attendance was down from other years, but I think we had, Karen, we'd have to look back, but I think it was down to around 60 people last year.
Yeah.
From our normal 100 to 125. Dick, you guys remember, we could do that again in the Whitney Center and have an accessory tent outside to accommodate theoretically maybe 100 people total. Maybe, but again, we got to do some research.
So the formula for a 20 by 40 tent, concentrated use, is 7.
7.
So you might be able to, probably with COVID rules, you might still be able to fit. Without tables, you could probably still fit close to 50 occupants inside the school tent, maybe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, no tables.
We could also, Hank might be able to help with us, but we could possibly, live stream the meeting and people could Zoom in and comment if they wanted to. So I think if that's all legitimately legal and we can do it that way, that's also a possibility for getting more attendance.
Hi, this is Hank here.
Hi, Hank.
Hi, I could actually stream the Whitney Center, which would not be a problem.
Cool. So that might be an option as well, just for people that want to attend virtually. Jerry?
I would just caution that I believe that you certainly can watch the meeting virtually, and you could even make comments virtually. I don't believe you can vote when you're not at the venue.
Okay,
That's an issue.
okay. Other Jerry? Wait, you're muted. There you go.
I would also suggest that Karen could look into the availability of a larger tent, and if it was available, maybe even setting up the 2 tents together.
Mhm.
And as Karen pointed out, there's probably going to be a lot of use of tents at that time of year, and possibly the sooner she did it, the better.
Yeah. Also, because I think Bill's idea of having a tent in the parking area right adjacent to the building, that's a really good idea, because you're really almost part of the meeting inside at that point. So something to think about.
Yeah, tent would have to be 10 feet away from the building.
Right.
You can't have a tent in the building, so it might be a tight squeeze. Maybe it would fit.
Oh, with no park. Up there.
I think you've got 10 feet from the edge
Yeah,
of the
you might.
parking building.
Yeah, 20 feet would probably fit there if you crowded it against that block wall. Yep.
Away from them.
All right, well, I think we should look into what tents are available, and the idea of just setting up the school tent in the parking lot next to the Whitney. I think it sounds like it would accommodate all the people that would show up. I don't know what a Saturday meeting is going to turn out. I haven't had one of those for a while.
Right. Yep. That sounds good. We can do some, Jay and myself and maybe Jerry and Dick or whoever, we could do a walk around over in the Whitney area and general area, because snow's still around, but get some rough ideas so that we've got a kind of a target, so to speak. That's something we could do in time. But I do think Karen's point of making sure we can get a tent, at least get our name on the list, maybe.
No, that's absolutely accurate. Okay, so do we have to make a motion to press ahead with setting up the Whitney as our venue for election and town meeting?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I will make a motion to move the deliberative portion to the Whitney Center.
I will second that.
Barbara, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
John, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Bennett, yes. Well,
Mr.
then I think that's our goal.
Mr. Bennett, I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you were going to mention this at a different time, but I wanted to make sure we recognized a former volunteer at the elections that isn't going to be with us this year.
Yes, that's probably a good time to recognize B.
Yes. So did you want to say something or?
Well, I've thought about it. One of the things I remember is calling back to Dundee from New Orleans, and B happened to be the operator. And I got to talk to her first before I got to talk to my wife, but I have some very fond memories. So yeah, B was certainly a wonderful asset to this community. She did a lot. Well, she was a selectman, she was in the planning board. I can't remember if she was on the Conservation Commission, I think so.
Yeah, she was
But
also
anyway-
the emergency management director at one point.
Yeah,
Yeah, volunteered for almost every election she could.
and was at every election, I remember.
And was definitely an advocate for making sure that everyone knew that the covered bridge was not the honeymoon bridge.
Yep, she was.
I did, so B Davis did pass away last weekend, and she was one of the people that everyone knew about B, whether you knew it from somebody else or you knew her personally, and she loved the town immensely, cared about it. And I called her family this past week to give them my thoughts, and I asked her, her daughter-in-law, Nancy Davis, if it would be okay if we mentioned B at the meeting, and she said she would definitely be there in spirit. And I said, undoubtedly she would be mumbling though in the background with some thoughts, as she always did at the meetings. So, and I say that lovingly because B was always a presence at the meetings. So.
Thank you, Barbara. And thank you, B.
Yep.
All right. Well, we've got that. So now we should have a discussion of Jackson Falls. I think
And
Barbara.
Barbara Terrio is on the line.
Terrio, yeah.
If you can unmute there, Barbara. There
Here I
you go.
am.
Hi.
Hi. Emily is here too, just in case we need to back up. We're going to be having another meeting, and it seems like forever since we last discussed Jackson Falls. It's been under ice and snow, and I go by it every day, but I haven't forgotten for one single second what's going to happen this summer, or what may happen this summer. I did individually address one of the Conservation Committee's reports to each of the selectmen, and I'm just reaching out to all of you to just for some advice as how you want us to continue. I do really feel that the committee should continue, and we're looking to now spread out and sort of divvy up some of the things that we really think are going to be necessary. Like the signage, a lot of the stuff that the Conservation Committee actually, had suggested to the selectmen. I do have a meeting as soon as the snow melts with with Brian from the DOT, and we're going to be doing some measuring at the Upper Falls for use of perhaps some of that property for 3 to 4 parking spaces for residents only. The suggestion that had been made was to go back to parallel parking. And we know that the selectmen, you are the ones that are in charge of telling, of making that decision on how people park. You've done it in the past, and that is one of the things that you have done. I have suggested, rather than going back to parallel and really opening up a can of worms with so few parking spaces, to do diagonal parking. And so many of the vehicles now, some of the size of the SUVs with the extensions on the back and everything else that are stretching far beyond what is legally parking when they, go just directly in head-on parking, that probably could be eliminated with diagonal parking. I'm just looking for, our committee is going to have a meeting tomorrow night for some sort of direction in where you think we should go now. We certainly don't want to throw everything right into the selectmen's laps where we're perfectly able to do a lot of these things. Changing the type of communication on and verbiage on electronic, all of the different places you can go to find out where to go to a falls in New Hampshire, and changing the verbiage for Jackson Falls to recognize it for its distinction as a wild and scenic designated spot as opposed to a public park. A lot of just different verbiage that would really enlighten people. And we're also reaching out to the Conservation Committee because they have the wherewithal to the Park Service, for the National Forest and everything else, so that all those listings, we can actually have information online that doesn't confuse the tourist that is going to come into town. The suggestion about raising the parking, the fines for parking, et cetera. I mean, that's all a decision that the selectmen have to make. None of the proposals that we've made or the Conservation Committee have made warrant an article. They don't need the town to vote on it because we are actually, by the designation of the river, the town is responsible. We, the citizens, are responsible for making recommendations to the Conservation Committee and to the selectmen for them to make that decision. So all I'm asking is, I know you've had time to read the recommendations from the Conservation Committee, and certainly hoping that you might have some ideas that you could point us in a very positive direction to really be right on top of this before all of the snow melts.
Barbara, what do you think of the idea of timed parking up there? If there's a 2-hour parking limit, do you think that would, keep people from setting up camp for the day and,
I definitely think that's a possibility, but who's going to be there to tell them they can only park for 2 hours? That's another step along the way, is a host system. And the most important thing for us to do first off is that we really have to get the information out to the people that are coming in the area, spreading it to all of the hotels and inns that we have. Our Chamber of Commerce is going to be huge in helping us make that happen. And those are suggestions that we can ask them, but we need to do it as a group. We need to do it as ourselves, the Conservation Committee, and above all, our selectmen. So we really want to work and be on the same page, at all times. But the host system would be amazing. But that's going to take a lot of work in itself.
I think also we have to remember that the Valley Crossroad Bridge is going to be replaced this year. So that's going to create an additional amount of congestion and maybe less parking and access as well, so.
Well, one of the recommendations was for there not to be any parking at all on the Valley Cross Road.
Right,
So we almost looked at it as a help that the
Yeah.
bridge is going to be closed.
I
that-
agree.
That people are not going to have as much access as they've had before, which would give us even more time to be able to figure out what we're going to do once we go back into it. But right now, what's important now is to know if you go along with that diagonal parking, if you go along with our idea of with proper measurement and knowing the DOT is going in the same direction as we are, to have at least 3, perhaps 4 resident parking only. The signage and all of that will be worked on by the Conservation Committee. That's exactly what they're there for that type of signage. We could change, rather than, the drive straight in parking, it would be diagonal parking. If we had one car parked there at the beginning of the day, you know how people are. If somebody parks on the diagonal, you can have as many signs as you want that say straight in parking. They're all going to be on the diagonal. I mean, people just don't read. But and that's part of the problem. But we just need sort of your blessing to get this going and to take on the responsibilities that we're willing to take on as a committee to make this work.
Hi there. Could I possibly make one comment? Hi, I'm Bridget Hurley. I'm up on Green Hill Road, but I belong to Jackson Tennis Club on Valley Cross. And just so that everybody's aware, there was a lot of people who wanted to park in our parking for, and they even were cutting down through the woods on that side to the falls. So this really is, there's a lot of overflow that happens. So just didn't know if everybody was aware of just how much that goes on, but we constantly were having to tell people not to park there. Or if the courts happened to be empty, you'd arrive and there'd be 6 cars from, people at the falls. So.
And Bridget, you're absolutely right. And we know that. And that's one of the things. I mean, there were no parking signs there for only tennis players to be able to park there. And it made no difference. So
Right.
hopefully that's going to, with the bridge being under repair, the cut across is not going to be easy for people.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot of construction. Hopefully we'll be able to clean that up. But one of the most important things too is the education for us to get out there as to where there is alternate parking. And there is some, not a whole lot, but if they know right off the bat that when they read Jackson Falls, it's not going to say unlimited free parking. It's going to say very limited parking. And when people get there, there's not going to be waiting on the roads and stuff like that. The police have been really, really good, and I've been very, very supportive in what we're trying to do. But they don't want to be the ones in charge. So it's really up to us to get that information out to everybody. Hence we needed to get feedback, and we did get a lot of feedback with the survey that went out, and we totally are in agreement with what's going on. I have very good friends that are members of the tennis club, and I know, just driving by it, what goes on. But that's all part of the education, and hopefully the bridge is going to really help. That might really stand off people for a while.
Okay.
I'm very in favor of the committee continuing and figuring out some ways. And it also might not be that everything works out the first time. We may try things and they don't work, but I think we have to do something to change the way things are happening at the falls. So I think diagonal parking would be wonderful if people follow that diagonal parking. You can't, like we always say, though, enforcement will be an issue. So if the police can help us at all, that will be great. Signage will be helpful, and trying new things.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful that the people concerned about Jackson Falls are still getting together and coming up with ideas, and I hope they do continue with all their work.
Okay, thank you.
I do like-
That's the guidance we need, you know, and rest assured that every single time something is being done, that you will be fully informed, because if the one thing I want to see happen is that all of us, our committee, the town, and the conservation committee are all on the same page, and all know that we're all doing this for the same reason.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I do like Dick's idea of a 2-hour parking limit, a time limit. And
I do
obviously,
too.
it's going to be something that you have to be self-imposed, but you know, at least puts, you know, the idea in their mind of the guests that they're not going to be there all day. You know, whether you actually enforce it or not may be difficult and not worth the effort, but you know, just the idea that it plants a non-permanence to them being there.
That's
I
all part
agree.
of the education too, John, and them reading about us on any website or any official thing that there is limited and timed parking. And that's a deterrent right away, if they read it. But
Yeah.
I really would love to see a host program. And I know that we've got a lot of retired people in town that's one of the things I'm going to try and reach out, and possibly, you know, through the e-news or what have you, and see if there are people that are willing to just to come down to the falls and spend a couple of hours there. And in a very cordial way, be there to be able to say to people, well, welcome to Jackson Falls. Do you know that this is a wild and scenic designated spot, et cetera, and you're more than welcome to sit and enjoy and have your little picnic lunch or what have you, but to be educated enough that they know that they're not going to be there for the day, that they're not going to be bringing glass in, that they're not going to be able to have boom boxes and that kind of thing. It's going to begin to, but the education part of it is something we have to do. You know, we have to welcome people with open arms, because
For
that
2
is
hours.
that's what we are, but for 2 hours, yeah. And then go to another falls someplace. And
I thought the survey was great too. Some of the comments were very interesting.
they really were.
Yes.
But one of the things too that we want to recognize is that we were really listening, and that's the
Yeah.
big thing with the suggestion about the resident parking. And if it's clearly marked, people are they're gonna get it. And I know that I drive by there enough that I'll be there a lot this summer, guaranteed, with a big smile on my face when I tell them they have to leave.
Okay, anybody else on Jackson Falls?
Thank you very much for your time too. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.
Is Emily Benson
She is
available?
with us. Yep.
Why don't we, she was first on our list, but we'll take her now. Emily?
Thanks for the delay. Sorry, I was in
No worries.
another meeting. So I didn't have anything direct to report. I think if anything, I just want to sort of give folks a heads up that the CDC is starting to do some updates of guidelines based on the increasing number of people who are becoming vaccinated, and the fact that there is some safety in folks gathering indoors without masks if they are being vaccinated. I've not received any updated guidance from the state on this, and will certainly pass that along as I learn of those updates. I did take a look at the town policy and sort of considered how that could change things. But just give you all a heads up on that, that's something that's coming along. We did have quite a week last week with a windstorm, and I think everything settled down eventually. Certainly learned a lot by opening the Whitney as the emergency shelter. If nothing else, it was a great training exercise, and the one person who came in was excited to, I think, just get out of the house and have some soup. So yeah, I mean, it was a great exercise. I think we are definitely reflecting on the library serving as that secondary shelter. Have had some discussions with the church and what might need to happen to have that officially designated. Certainly a generator being the big thing, but that was it. I don't know if you all had any questions regarding everything that happened last week. I know I was in the town offices today, and Julie Hoyt and I had a discussion that when the power did go down and Spectrum did go down, there was no landline or anything for the phones to operate at the town offices. So something to think about. We were fortunate the cell coverage continued consistently throughout the event, so that allowed us to communicate.
I want to say thank you to you and Jay and everyone else that just stepped up and made the Whitney Center available in a short time, got the information out to people through e-news and stuff, and it was communicated very well, and you guys just really stepped it up. Like you said, if it was only an exercise to find out that you could do it, I thought you did pretty well. I really appreciated the communication on it. So thank you for that.
Well, and big thanks to John Stokey at the school for having that facility just absolute and super clean, ready to go, because that is definitely something that we need to realize. Usually we have a little bit more of a warning, but it was just all set. And it's a pretty comfortable rug there in the conference room. That's where I slept that night. So it was warm. Yep. It was a very good facility for that purpose. So.
All right.
Well, thank you again for everything you do.
Yeah.
Lots of folks coming together.
Takes a village.
A pleasure. Yep.
Barbara, I do have something that it really, so this is
Ginger Perkins. Go ahead, Ginger.
And we're former military, so we're used to like communication from the kind of the top down. So in our little neighborhood, we have kind of like a call tree, so we know our neighbors. But some neighbors don't know how to find out information. Because I'm new, I did ask Reverend Gale, a part of the church, where to look, because not knowing really what was going on with internet and power down. We have a generator, so I was able to have power, but I mean, I was able to go on Facebook, so I did see from Jackson Fire Department and Jackson Police kind of what was going on and to avoid roads but we didn't have e-news, I don't think, for a couple of days. So because I was trying to inform neighbors of what was going on, I really don't know. So I'm kind of asking you, what is our key to look for when something like happens that I can share with other neighbors? What is going on? What is our key point of contact?
Well, I guess maybe I'll jump in unless.
Yeah, go ahead, Emily.
First of all, Ginger, thank you so much for sharing that viewpoint, because that was one of the biggest challenges, was trying to figure out the way that people get their information. there was certainly information that was shared through the paper. It wasn't initially intended to open the shelter. We had a little bit of miscommunication on that point. But I decided to not really depend on e-news because I'm not guaranteed that they're able to post things immediately. And what Jay and I really found out was that Facebook was incredibly effective in spreading the word, and that also was shared, immediately radio stations were picking it up. And not being on Facebook myself, it's sort of interesting thinking, well, if you're not on that. So one thing that we may have missed, we probably should have put something on the town website, sort of a red banner. So if that's something that you think could be good, I would certainly be happy to have additional conversations with you about this if you have any other ideas, or if anybody else does as well. Please
Right, because a few
chime
people,
in.
they do not have Facebook. So I think actually, like, again, it was word of mouth, actually. Someone shared that with me, and then again, I'm kind of the proponent for our street here. But I don't want to share wrong information. So I really do wait to get information from the town. And, as I said, if I can't share Facebook, I don't know how to get that.
Emily J here.
Yeah.
So those are all great points. One thing I just thought of, Facebook worked really well, and I completely understand there is people that don't have Facebook, so they're out of the loop. But with a town-wide power outage, internet was out of the question. E-news was, for the most part, out of the question. Websites are probably out of the question. So I'm wondering if we ought to consider some old school stuff, such as good old-fashioned radio station, local radio station. If we have a town-wide power outage, if somebody's got a basic radio and they could get onto the local radio station, that's really the only way I see getting the word out.
Jay, so one other thing that the military did, they had a telephone number that anyone can call, and it had an update of what was going on. So because, so I don't know if we have that. Like, again, being new, I don't know what I don't know.
What we found is that has become a problem these days because the majority of the people don't have old-fashioned landlines. Majority of the people have their phone is from their cable company, and the minute the power goes out, the phone goes out. Like the fire station, for example, we have maintained old-fashioned landline, so we had phone service the whole time the power was out because, even though we couldn't probably call a lot of people. But, I don't know how that would work, but I think the majority of the people in town couldn't get a call out, so that doesn't solve much either. This is all good conversation that we'll have to work on.
Ginger,
radio is definitely one of the old school methods because you are always told, to prepare for an emergency, you should have a battery operated radio. That way you can get information, and it's a kind of a roundabout way for us to disseminate that information, but it works. I don't know that people have transistor radios anymore. I always had one when I was a kid because I wanted to listen to the World Series while I was sitting in class, but a battery operated radio will keep you in some communication with the outside. So we, as a town, could contact the radio station and I'm sure they would cooperate in an emergency. So that'd be one thing to talk to people about, because it's a means of communication that stays open no matter what the power lines do.
Dick, Karen Burton also has a comment.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. During that time, I was unaware that the Whitney Center did open, or obviously it might have been just a trial. I'm just catching on. I did have a number of people drive to the town offices, also to my home, because I'm close to the road, and asked me about options and if there was anything, if they needed to go to it. So whether we put a sign at the post office, if those people could leave their homes, or if they have ways of getting a hold of someone else that we could share that information with them. Because I was unaware that the Whitney Center was open or possibly under trial, but just as a thought.
That's Jay here again. That's great thought. It crossed my mind. I think we talked about, we never ended up doing it. So this is something we're learning from, is putting some kind of a portable sign like in front of the fire station or at the selectman's office that stands right out that says, shelter open or something. So that's definitely something that we'll probably add to the list of things to do next time.
Yeah, this is all great. I'm writing all this down. Got another message through the chat about some sort of, text message update, like a mass text. So because there are so many different ways, that's one of the biggest challenges. But between that, I'm thinking that idea on the phone, we could maybe tape a message on the firehouse phone if that's a landline that people would call. That would be a standing message, and we could adjust that as needed. So I think it is going to take some approaches.
That'll take some thought because, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So, all right.
Great feedback.
All righty then. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, our next discussion is the old library. There's been some requests for use of the old library again. I don't know that without some more guidance from the state, if I'm quite ready to open it up, but we certainly, when we can, I don't know that we can promote group gatherings, but when we can open it safely, I think we will. Barbara?
I'm anxious for people to be able to use it again. However, anytime someone uses it, we're definitely going to have to make sure it can be cleaned. So we have to make sure those cleaning services are available. And then I think, I don't know if we can request that based on what the CDC says or the state says, how we're restricted for gatherings, but if people are vaccinated or if they're still masking or whatever, I'm anxious to see things get back to the way they were a little bit, but with caution. So I think we still need to see what happens maybe in the next month or two as people get vaccinated more and if things don't.
As it opens up, I think that we will be more inclined to, open up the facility to more people.
I hope that's the case soon.
Me too.
Well, absolutely.
And I know that we're talking about this because we did get a request for April or May for someone to use it. So I think, putting this on the agenda for our first, or either our next meeting as a to be discussed again, or the first April meeting, and see where we are as of then.
Oh, I don't mind discussing it every minute. Things are changing so fast. So I think it's a discussion we can have anytime we meet.
Right. Great.
All right. Iron Mountain Road plowing and snowmobile use. So Barbara, I guess were you in contact with Peter Malia or? I've read the emails, but I haven't talked with Peter.
No, I've only read the emails as well, so just, I think where we are now, and we do have the Masons on the phone as well as, Jen was on the phone. Jen Mello was on the phone. I'm not sure if she is anymore, but anyway, we had, some discussions on the waiver and having all residents sign the waiver versus, and kind of keeping things the way they were as far as it worked before, so let's not change things, but let's make sure everyone is on the same page as far as how much of the road can be plowed from where to where, that parking is addressed, and that all residents have access to their property.
Yes. I think that making sure we get the waivers signed by everybody will be important so that the town has no liability. We can allow for the snow machines to use the road or the ATVs. As far as plowing, how far, I don't want to open up the plowing too much because then there's a conflict with the people using snow machines to access their properties. Also, I don't know what plowing does as far as inviting the cross-country skiers to come in and park. So those are all things to think about. I would like to start with the signed waivers.
Right.
Dick,
Oh, go ahead.
Dick, again. Dick, you there?
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Just a point I want to make. When I got to work this morning, there was a message on the fire department phone. Apparently, somebody went up there this weekend and tried driving up Iron Mountain and got stuck in the ditch somewhere a ways up from the normal stop plowing area. And I think the PD, I think Marty knew about it. I think he might have walked up to check on it. I don't know if they got out Sunday or Monday or even this morning. But I just wanted to throw that out there that I did find a message this morning that somebody was stuck up there and was looking for help. So there we go, happening.
Well, it is, and I'm sorry that they're going to call the fire department or our police department. They should call a tow truck because it's their responsibility, not ours.
Yep, correct. I just wanted to throw it out there for you guys what had happened.
Thank you.
Hi, Jen.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I was typing. So, that is something that concerns us as homeowners up there as well. I mean, it's not that we don't, I'm not going to sit here and say we don't see that happen. Mainly, I think the times that it does happen is it's spring time when it's mud and it's milk. And we do find people trying to make their way up Iron, when they really shouldn't be, and nor do they have the proper vehicle to do so. So, I mean, it's just something that popped into my head. It's not something that I think we've even really discussed, but I don't know, maybe a seasonal gate for just residents during the winter time to prevent that from happening. I don't know.
Well, Class 6 road is subject to gates and bars, so I think that we could put up a gate, not locked, but a gate that said, the road is closed and it's for residents only to use snow machines or ATVs, because we don't want to open it up to open snow machines. We don't want people going over the top to Bartlett. I think that you still could do that. I've skied it, but I've never run a machine. But anyway, yes, I think that either a sign or something that, no, the road's closed. Don't drive up here and get stuck and expect the town to come pull you out.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's just, we don't want to see that happen either. You don't see that, like us as homeowners, that's not us attempting to get up to our homes.
Mhm.
That upper part of iron doesn't even usually melt out until, I don't know, April, maybe at the end of April. And we certainly don't want anyone's safety to be at risk either. But to be honest, just to make a point about the road maintenance, the amount of public traffic that happens on that road during spring, summer, fall is incredibly grand amount of traveling up there. As long as there is a public, trailhead at the top, I think we're going to continue to see that kind of traffic up on Iron. And as far as the point, actually going back to the Jackson Fall point, yes, people don't read the sign. So you have posted at the bottom of Iron how, kind of travel at your own risk. It's a class 6. And people do not read that.
I agree. People don't read anything they don't want to know about. But the idea of a gate or a barway might be something we should discuss. I'd like to hear from the other, maybe you could canvass the other property owners to see if something like a swing gate or a bar gate would be acceptable, so that it isn't just wide open for general traffic. I mean, people are going to use it. It's a class 6 road, so it is a right of way. But it'd be nice if we didn't have, people going up there that it's inappropriate for them to go up in whatever vehicle they've tried to go up in. And if they're just out cruising and are going to drive up and drive back, I mean, a gate, even if it's not locked, is a deterrent to people that do not live there.
Thank you.
Can I just ask something? This is Barb Campbell. The waiver that we've been looking at in the past, that we've been all working with under the assumption that we were going to have signed, is actually a building permit waiver. And I'm wondering, and Julie, maybe you can help me on this. Are we going to be modifying that to make it a waiver for the class 6 road? I'm not sure why it's called a building permit application if it's for the
I think
access.
Peter came up with a good wording for a waiver for the vehicle use. So I think we'll be doing that other than a building permit.
Okay. So when we present the waiver, it will be modified to address this.
Yes.
Okay. Sue and Dave, does that answer your question? Okay. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
May I
Any
just
other
add-
ideas that you've come up with that accommodate the landowners and, help with the parking and your access to the property?
Jen, were you going to say something else?
I just wanted to thank you guys for continuing to have this conversation with us.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then Dave and Sue, did you want to say something as well? Hold on, you're muted.
Unmute. There we
Okay,
go.
there you go.
Thank you. I am also very, very grateful for all the effort that you are putting into this for us, because we just want to get to our homes. And I am more than welcome to sign a waiver letting the town you know, not be liable for anything as far as the road is concerned. So David and I are both, well, I can speak for myself. I can't speak for my husband, but we're all for signing the waiver. It's just the waiver that is for this building permit comes with a lot of other stipulations. So I'm very grateful that you are going to put together a specific waiver for the plowing for the road. And I am also, I do not have a problem with the gate being at the Forest Service Road because we have also witnessed a lot of people driving up that road. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Bridget from Green Hill. I just wanted to, kind of back up what they have to say because we do a lot of hiking up that way and the people that you see go up there that really shouldn't be can cause a lot of headache. So I think it's great that the town's trying to consider what the best resolution is. And I can only imagine how frustrating it can be for the homeowners when they try to, and they're paying for the plowing and then other people park in their spots. It's gotta be a little tough.
Thank you.
All right, the last thing I have on our discussion list is the easement on the property V7 lot 53 and 54, the two small lots up on Highland. Everything that we thought of doing, either selling or allowing the easement, we can't do without a town meeting. So it couldn't get on this year's agenda. So all those things are put off. I don't know if the prospective buyer would still buy in and hope for the best or what, but we are legally not able to do anything more.
Dick, do you know the history behind why those lots were created and given to the town? I just seemed in such an odd shape,
It was something, I did read about it.
I know Julie Hoyt, gave us some information on how we got a hold of that. Julie, are you still on?
The lots were given to the town. They were deeded to the town.
Right.
The town purchased them. And
Yeah.
it was just odd pieces, I guess.
Yep. There's Julie.
Hi, yeah, I just looked back and it, the person who developed the lots up there, for some reason, it doesn't explain why he gave those lots to the town and why they were so small, but it just showed that he gave them to the town.
Hmm.
I can't, yeah, I was looking for my old email I sent.
Yeah, I don't think that there was ever a reason why those lots weren't just attached to whatever abutting land was up there, but they weren't. So the town was given the lots and now we'll deal with them. So anyway, it's off for a year. I mean, there's nothing we can do at this time.
Right.
Well, I'd like to move on to our short-term rental applications. So I have 3, and one is at 86 Dinsmore Road, McInnes. And we have not heard, they were to change their ad.
And they did change their ad. Julie Hoyt confirmed that today. So they did change their ad and they are conforming to the application. So I will make a motion to approve the application for 86 Dinsmore Road.
I will second.
Barbara, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
John, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Bennett, yes.
Same instance with the next one.
Has he decided whether he is going to contest our interpretation of the ordinance?
I believe that's the one on 10A Georgia Lane.
Well, he had a 2-bedroom, but he was advertising it as a 4-bedroom. And then he said that we were misinterpreting some part of the ordinance. I don't know, is he here today, Mr. Nelson?
No.
No. I was gonna wait to find out if he really wanted to fight this out somehow.
Julie Hoyt was this one? I'm confused now because I thought we had the, you're right. I'm sorry. My bad.
Okay, I'm gonna hold on that.
Yeah, that is a hold.
And then 10A Georgia Lane. Has that, I think that was that's a condo, isn't it? Were they waiting for egress windows?
Yeah, and we have not heard back from them.
Okay. So we approved 86 Dinsmore Road. We don't have any complaints this meeting, so that's good.
Yes.
And we'll move on to building permits. Kevin Bennett.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Kevin.
I've got 6 building permits. 2 of them are renewals. One at 28 Beach Hill Road, that's renewal. Actually, I spoke to the owner today. 13 Rogers location, that's renewal. Been going on for a while.
Are they
39
progress?
Yeah, slow, real slow. So hopefully they get it done this year. 39 Whitney Hill Loop. And I think an exterior remodel, all new windows, basically. And then 37 Old Jackson Road, kitchen, bathroom model, insulate basement. And I actually met with the owner last week. And then Cameron Drive, that's a new house going in. That's down in Eagle Brook. I was waiting for the latest plans for that house. When they first submitted, it was coming in at like 37 foot, 38 feet. And we can only build to 35 feet. So the architect did some redesigning, put it that way. And then 90C Winworth Hall, egress windows. And actually today I was out doing an inspection, and it's for a new house. It's up on Mountain View. And like 2 years ago, we had a couple decks fall off buildings in town, and one was a pretty new house. I wasn't involved in it, thank God. And it had a lot of it had to do with snow, the snow not being removed off the deck, and it basically ripped right off the house. And I noticed that they were going to kind of do the same construction. So anyway, I got all the data, and if you look at all the building tables about that, it's they only use the snow load for like 50 pounds, plus the live load 50 pounds, and around here it's 90, or if you don't shovel, it could be way over 100. So anyway, I'm following up on that, and get them to build it so it can handle the.
Are you getting cooperation?
Yeah, they are. Yep. Yeah, they're great. Actually, one of the builders, he questioned it when they started working on it. He was like, this might not work what we're doing here. So anyway, I'm gonna stop up there tomorrow with all the info, and I think they just gotta put a, either block it or put a bigger beam in, so. But I'm glad I caught it now.
Absolutely.
Yep. So,
And the new station that you're waiting for the drawings. Now, did the architect, do they bother to look at the Jackson?
he should know better. Yeah, well, it is a local architect and he has done stuff in town before. And that's one of the first things when I called him, I said, you should know better.
Right.
So it took like 3 weeks to finally, straighten out the elevations and get back to me. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Stay with them.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Barbara, John, any questions on building permits?
On
I
these,
have none.
on the permit renewals, do you have to pay for them every time you renew, or is there a renewal fee?
It's just a $50 renewal fee.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. That's it for me.
Okay, and then I think we are to the upcoming meetings, so there'll be March 23rd, which is a Tuesday at 3:30 by Zoom. April 13th, Tuesday, 3:30 by Zoom. April 27th, which is a Tuesday, 3:30 by Zoom. Then Tuesday, May 11th will be the voting. And hopefully we'll have that all smoothed out. And then Saturday, May 15th will be the deliberative session of our town meeting. And that will be at the Whitney or at the Whitney in a tent.
And we'll all start praying now for good weather.
Absolutely. May flowers.
Yes.
Okay, any other public comments?
Not for me.
Any other comments from the public or the select board or the building inspector or the fire chief or anybody?
I don't see anyone else.
Oh, then I'd entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting of March 9th.
I'll second that. I just want to see how.
I know. Thanks for leaving me hanging there, John.
John, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Barbara, did you vote?
I vote yes.
Bennett, yes.
Thanks
All right,
to
we'll see
all
y'all.
for joining.
Thank you all.